Hello, gamers from around the world. This is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to today's episode of the World of Gaming. And today we are back, Dutch, after taking a break last week, and we are on a Friday, which is unusual for us, but it was my birthday yesterday, and I wanted to celebrate with the kids, the wife, and the family, so that's why we are here this week on a Friday. But nonetheless, I'm excited to be back, Dutch. It always feels weird when we miss a week, so I'm glad to be back.
It does.
It does, right? But Dutch, before I welcome you, let me welcome our awesome communities today again on both streams, right?
Yes, on both streams again. Yes.
Yes.
Two streams, two podcasts for the price of one.
Isn't that convenient? Isn't that convenient? Welcome, everyone. Big welcome to everyone in the chat. Of course, a big welcome to everyone who listens after the fact, either here on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you're listening. Welcome to you guys. And Dutch, now officially, a big welcome to you. How you doing, my man?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm needing a break from work, but I can't have any break from work until September. So I just have to settle for weekends, and they don't. The older you get, the quicker weekends disappear. So it doesn't even feel like you've had time off.
I know the feeling. As of late, somehow the weekends are full, with family obligations and lots of festivities, and I'm not complaining, but sometimes I wish I just had a day for myself over the weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gotta also work for another 4 weeks before I get 2 weeks off, so still ways out. But hey, summer break is very late in Germany, so school holidays just started yesterday actually here, and so it is what it is. But that's not what we're here for, Dutch. We are here to talk about games. And I want to say a big thank you to Dave in the chat for the birthday wishes. And Parasite, appreciate it.
Old man Boxy as of yesterday.
Yeah, another year later, 41 years now.
You're over the 40 hill now. You're not just 40 anymore.
No. I'm getting closer and closer to the 50. Right.
You're getting closer to 50 now.
I find more and more gray hair, and I'm still as passionate for video games as I was with 6 years when I got my OG Game Boy and fell in love with video games. And that's why we do this podcast here each and every week. And I'm excited to be back and to talk about gaming and the gaming news. And as always, Dutch, I want to start, of course, with the games of the week. All right. Dutch, as always, I want to know from you and, of course, from everyone in the community, in the chat, what have you guys been playing?
Indeed. So I have eventually got round to finishing Days Gone.
Ooh, nice. What did you think, man?
Yeah, I actually enjoyed it. I significantly enjoyed the story much more than I did Horizon's story. Now, I will probably try and finish Horizon Forbidden West regardless. I played through the first Horizon. I wasn't too keen, but it was okay. I got the second one hoping it would be a much more improved story, and it didn't really click, but I'm going to give it a chance. But Days Gone, I've thoroughly enjoyed. A little bit more rushed towards the end. When you get into that final act, it's kind of just things just kind of start coming together really quickly, and then it just finishes. But no, overall, really enjoyed it. I think I'm going to do the platinum on it. I'm not. There's a few things like level up in all the different encampments and clear some areas out and things like that. So there's nothing too strenuous to do in the areas to get the platinum. So I think I'll do that. And then I'll move on and play something else. Aside from that, though, the Xbox game that I've been playing, is Dungeons of Hinterberg, which I'm also
Nice.
thoroughly enjoying.
Downloaded
Um,
it, but I haven't started yet.
so
So
you've done the opposite. So you've started Flintlock,
I
and
started
I've
Flintlock.
started Hinterberg, whereas
Yeah.
I haven't played Flintlock yet, and you have. So we're literally the opposites at the minute. Um, so
Nice.
no, Hinterberg's great art style, great kind of background music to it, good combat. The different every time you go into a different zone or a different dungeon, you get different powers. So not in every zone, it's different entirely. So in the first, I think it's a first zone, you get like a whirlwind ability and a grab ability, and then in the next one you get something entirely different. You get two other new abilities, and the next zone you get two new abilities, but you don't keep them in every zone. You just have those abilities in those zones for the specific
Yeah.
obstacles of those zones, which is really cool. So I like how they keep kind of changing things up on the zones that you go into as well, and you can go in between zones and clear out the different dungeons in each zone. Um, and there's a nice little story in the background as well, where it's essentially it's this town of Hinterberg has mysteriously gained magic. This exact town, you can't get mobile or internet signal there. Magic's blocking it out, and all of a sudden these dungeons have popped up, and then people have went there on vacation and started slaying monsters for a vacation.
Okay.
Um, so it's as the mystery unfolds, they kind of try to learn more about this magic that's happened in the area and what's going on, and an earthquake starts happening and starts to get progressively worse as time goes on, and you need to figure out what's the cause of this earthquake and what's happening in this town. So I'm looking forward to kind of playing more of it and playing more of the story. But it's a great game. The one thing I love about it the most is you can do it in chunks. You don't have to just play loads of it at the same time. You can do a dungeon section. You can progress the story to a certain point, and then it tells you it's the end of that day. So you can just save the game, and then when you go into it, it's a whole nother day, and then the story continues,
Okay.
and then you go to a new dungeon, and then does it that way. So the whole every day
Sounds
is a
good.
kind of a new beat. It's a nice way to do it.
I've seen a lot of people compare it to Zelda. Would you say that's fair?
I can see why they would say that with the dungeons and the puzzles, because when you get into the dungeons, there are puzzles that would be reminiscent of Zelda, especially the
Okay.
newer ones. Not so much the older Zeldas,
Yeah.
more Tears of the Kingdom, etc.,
Yeah.
where you've got these abilities and things like that that you can move things around at, and there's like one dungeon you go into with iron cart tracks,
Mm.
and you kind of have to choose which way you need to put it around, and then switch it back, and then block one area and unblock another area, and open the gates here, and then get rid of these monsters, and then come back and unblock that gate, and then go around the other way to try and unblock it. So there's a lot of mechanics like that can be
Yeah.
reminiscent of
Gotcha.
Zelda. Um, but yeah, no, it's I can understand it a little bit for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's especially more the new Zelda, definitely not the old Zelda
Yeah.
style,
Yeah.
the new Zelda style. Yeah, but
Nice.
I would say a lot more entertaining. I think the other Zelda thing gives you a little bit more freedom as to what you do with your techniques and how you do things. Um, but this is, yeah, I love the bite-sized nature of it. It doesn't kind of pressure you into finishing the game all
Yeah.
in one. It feels like you can just go, okay, brilliant. I've done a dungeon or I've done two dungeons. I can park it. I'm not going to miss out on the story because it's a new day, and the characters talk to each other at the beginning of each day, and they talk to each other at the end of each day. So you kind of have a little story block every day. It's like it's a whole new chapter
Miss
every
out
day,
on the
which is
story
nice.
because it's a new
So
day
I like the way it
and the
progresses it
characters
that
talk
way.
to each
But
other.
I highly recommend it. I think everybody should check out Dungeons and Hinterberg for sure.
Sweet. Yeah, I fully intend to. I want to start that over the weekend now. Um, but yeah, you just made it more
100%.
intriguing to
Yes,
check it out.
yes. I think you'll love it. I really do. What about you then, Boxy? What you been up to?
Yeah, well, so what have I been up to? I finished Octopath Traveler 2, man,
Nice.
including the endgame story. So when you like in the first one, yeah, you have like these 8 characters, and um when you progress through the individual stories of the 8 characters, they open up some I can't remember how they call it, like intertwined stories of the different characters. So you can do a storyline with the merchant and the cleric, for instance. Yeah, and so they partner some of the characters up. So I finished all 8 main stories of the characters. I finished all these intertwined stories, and when you do that, the game opens up like kind of an end game story that unites all of the 8 main characters' individual stories, and the game actually tells you to save before make an extra save file because you can't return to the original
Yeah.
world, and then the entire world transforms into something. I'm not spoiling here anything, but yeah, and then there is multiple boss fights before you finish the final boss that you have to take on with the 8 characters, and it's like fantastic. I really enjoyed Octopath Traveler 2. It's significantly less grindy than the first one, so it took me about, I want to say, 70 hours plus minus
Yeah.
something. I would have to look it up, but I think my save file said something of 68 hours or something like that. But which is significantly less than it took me to beat the first one, because the first one was like grind fest. I did enjoy the first one, don't get me wrong, but there you had to grind and grind and grind to level up your party, and that's significantly less in the second one, which I do appreciate, and I thoroughly enjoyed all 8 stories. Great combat system. Still, it's very similar like in the first one, but it's still one of the best turn-based combat
Yeah.
systems out there. It's just fantastic and such a beautiful art style. Huge diversity in the environments and everything. The soundtrack is fantastic. So I still have to post my review on X, but yeah, I think if I had to create it right now, I would say I would give it maybe a 9.4 or something. It's
Yeah.
that good. It really is. Um, so Octopath Traveler 2, it's in Game Pass. No harm in trying it out. Of course, if you're not into JRPGs, you're not gonna like Octopath. Of course,
Yep.
it's for
Yeah.
everyone who.
Octopath is a traditional JRPG.
Absolutely, it is. But if you do enjoy
Yeah.
JRPGs, this is one of the best ones in recent years. Absolutely. Um, so yeah, I finished that, and then I started actually with Flintlock, um, which I was very, very excited for. Um, and I don't know what to think about it right now
Yeah, you're still
because
undecided because
I'm
it's a
still
bit of a
undecided.
Soulsy game.
It's yeah, it's soulsy, yes. In a way, it is challenging. There is a story mode that you can turn it to, so you can choose difficulty. I choose the regular, recommended, normal difficulty, and it is a challenging game. It is, and it's kind of hard for me right now to describe what I'm trying to say. Is it's challenging, and I'm usually fine with that, but there are 2 things that I really do not like. And that is, the first is the respawn points are way too far apart
Yeah.
from the bosses, because it you know it, when you think about Elden Ring, yeah, you kind of have to try maybe 100 times to beat Radahn,
But
or
at
I don't
least you're
know.
just outside of the door.
But exactly, you spawn outside of the door. And in Flintlock, you kind of have to walk through the entire map, or through an entire village again, to get to the boss that you have difficult, or you can't beat, and that is so annoying.
Yeah.
This is like unnecessarily hard. So this is the one part I'm not digging right now, and the second part is, you know when you play an Elden Ring or Souls game, the controls just feel on point.
Yeah.
And when you have the feeling that you have have a challenge to be the boss because the controls just feel clunky and not responsive enough, that's kind of, a downer. I want to. I don't have a problem with dying a lot if I know it was my mistake, but
Yeah.
ever so often I had the feeling that it's just the clunky movement of the characters, and so I'm gonna give it another try, but I had more hopes for it, to be honest. There are a couple of things that are really good. Like the first 2 hours, I thoroughly enjoyed the way how they introduced the story, the characters, and everything. And it is a beautiful game, especially for a double A studio. It has good voice acting. There's a lot to like about that game. The level up system is good, but somehow those two things are just a turn off right now. And so when Modern Warfare 3 dropped into Game Pass, I started that too. I started the campaign. I'm about 3 hours or so in. I think I'm almost done with the campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, that is what I have been playing.
Nice. I was going to ask you as well. What is next on your list? Are you going to jump into Hinterberg next, or
Hinterberg, and I started 2 months ago or so ago. I started Immortals of Avium, but only played
Yes.
like the first 2 hours or so, and because then something else came out, and I just fell off of it. But I want to go back because the first initial hours that I played, I actually enjoyed. So I intend to fully play that as well. But yeah, Hinterberg is probably next. That's the weekend plan. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, Dutch. Let me shout out briefly Drawn J, who sends in the first super chat of the day. Thank you so much for the $5. He says Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown comes out on September 5th for Xbox. Yeah, not too far. Like
Yep.
a good month
It
and
is.
a week or so.
A quick shout out as well for 2 member chats here. One from Fantosur for 28 months, and another one from Studos for 27 months. So thank you very much for those two chaps.
Sweet. Yeah, Solar Crown, man. I'm actually looking forward to it, but it comes out while I'm on vacation, and it comes along with basically the same week like Star Wars Outlaws. Stalker 2 got delayed. We'll talk about that a little later, but there's and Age of Mythology comes out that week. It's gonna be tough for me to squeeze in Solar Crown at that time. But yeah. So let us see what the community has been playing. So Dave Ramos, shout out to that guy. He finished Banishers, and it looks like he enjoyed it. And it is awesome because I love Banishers. I think that's my game of the year so far. Banishers is fantastic.
You put Banishers above Final Fantasy Rebirth?
Absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong, Rebirth was good. It was a good game. You can't really complain about it, but there was just it didn't grab me as much as the first remake.
Yeah.
And it came, I was excited to play it, I enjoyed what I've played, and it was basically gone as soon as I finished. It didn't stick with me. But Banishers, man, that game is something else, especially because of the exceptional writing. Like Dave in the chat also said it's like Witcher 3 level, and I agree. It is that good. The stories told there, especially the side stories, like exceptionally well. So Banishers probably my game of the year so far. So the General C has been playing Diablo 4 and Marvel Rivals.
Nice.
Never go wrong with Diablo 4. Right?
Yep.
Parasite finished Diablo 4 and now he's playing Avatar and the Crew Motorfest. Nice. Avatar was good, man. Nothing is super special, but a good game, worth playing. Pyro Mad has been playing for more than 300 hours now. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth.
Christ.
Sweet. Sweet, sweet. Dustin Lambert is playing Ayuden Chronicles and says
Nice.
the game is way longer than I thought it would be. So I'm not sure if he's talking about 100 Heroes, which came out this year, or if he's playing the one from, what was it called 2 years ago? Ayuden Rising, Chronicles Rising, exactly. Yeah, both good games. Very good games.
Nice.
Man, if I think about it, this year is on fire for, turn-based JRPGs.
Oh yeah, there was loads of JRPGs this year.
JRPGs, it's insane this year. Absolutely, absolutely. Dustin Lambert is talking about 100 Heroes. Yeah, 100 Heroes took me, I want to say 40 hours, 35, 40 hours, something like that to beat it. It's a big game. It is. Takeso Shinobi has been playing Dragon Age Origin and its expansions. Sweet.
Nice.
Preparing yourself for the next Dragon Age.
Yes.
I can't wait for the next Dragon Age. I know you have different thoughts, but I can't wait. All right, Dutch. Anyone in your chat?
Yes.
I'm gonna close my poll, by the way, and we're gonna watch some Call of Duty. Sweet.
We've got Studos has been playing Call of Duty, both multiplayer and Modern Warfare 3 campaign. Back from the Dead has been playing First Descendant and Fortnite. And Phantosur has been playing Tales of Arise and Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. So he's on the JRPG realm at the moment as well. I still need to try that First Descendant. I keep seeing people are really enjoying it, and I still need to jump into it and see what it's all about.
Me too.
And it's free to play, so I've got no excuse.
Yeah, you do. You have too many other games to play. And you still haven't played Banishers, bro.
No, not yet.
You would love that, man. It is absolutely your game. It is.
It probably will be, yeah.
It is God of War meets Tomb Raider meets A Blake's Tale. In a very unique setting, with exceptional writing, good combat, lots of diversity in the areas and everything. It's you would love Banishers, man. You have to start a petition.
I'll get on it eventually.
Yeah. You always say that to my recommendations.
It's in the backlog.
The infamous backlog. All right. I think that's an insider probably nobody gets here. But maybe we explain it sometime. Okay.
When Sin's jumped in before we start, last one. Sin says he's been playing the Sushi Bot game. I don't know what that is. Diablo 4, Starfield, and Psychonauts 2. Some great games there.
Very good games. Indeed. All right, Dutch. Let us move to the news of the week. Alrighty. So, you posted that news are wafer thin these days, and yeah, it is.
Yep.
Lighter news streak, but there are a couple of interesting things I wanted to talk to you about, and I want to start with a little news. Not the biggest news of the week, but yesterday, GSC Game World announced that they are going to delay Stalker 2 to November 20th. The game was supposed to come out on September 5th, they've delayed it to polish it up to November, and obviously it's not the first delay. And it's been like the fifth delay in,
Yeah.
or at least, well, it has been probably more than 5 delays, but 5 times where they moved an actual release date that they gave.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so I wanted to hear, of course, your thoughts, because I posted this on Twitter, and I'm paraphrasing now, though I can't quote the exact tweet. I don't have it open right now, but it doesn't matter. I said something like, there is no other developer in the world that has ever developed the game under such challenging circumstances. So if
Yeah.
anyone gets through with delaying games, it's those guys, and they just shall take all the time they need. I mean, they had literally developers killed that went to war and had to move the entire studio to Poland, and it's like an insane development story for them. And so they can delay as many times as they want. I'll be there day one as soon as the game comes out. We're gonna do a giveaway actually here on the podcast for an Xbox copy here, and when it comes out, and yeah, I'm totally fine with that. Besides that fact that they are under very, very special circumstances.
Yeah.
Come on, the first week of September is like nuts. We have 29th or so of August, Star Wars Outlaws coming out. We have Age of Mythology coming out. We have Solar Ground coming out. We have, I'm forgetting one. There's another one coming that week. But yeah, we have so many games in the first week of
September.
It is absolutely crazy. So here, August 30th, yeah, we have Outlaws. Then we have Visions of Mana. We have Age of Mythology, September 4th. And we have Astrobot coming September 6th. That's like crazy. And it is, and Solar Ground. Sorry, forgot about Solar Ground. But man, it's like good for them to actually move, because they can't take on all of those. And a couple of those will go under because of that. I feel like Visions of Mana is not getting much attention. Probably Age of Mythology is not going to get much attention. Undeserved. Obviously, it's the highlight. Best one of the coming that week. But you know what I mean. Like, there's too much to play anyway, especially at the very, very beginning of September. So I'm more than okay, because November 20th is getting lighter. It's not that we don't have games to play in November. Assassin's Creed Shadows is gonna come out on November 15th, and we have the Flight Simulator on November 19th. And now, of course, and Flight Sim is a Game Pass Day 1 drop, and of course, Stalker is 1 day later also a Game Pass Day 1 drop. But that's about it, right? The rest of the highlights of the biggest games, as far as we know, about Indiana Jones, Tower of Shattered Space, and Dragon Age, still don't have a release date. But from the ones we know, November is actually relatively light when you compare it towards September and October. So it totally makes sense, and I'm more than fine with it. But Dutch, you wouldn't believe how many people are upset about that. Yeah? Eurogamer posted the headline, "Really again?" Question mark. You know? And a couple of people actually also replied in my post. Yeah, I've lost all interest after all these delays and blah, blah, blah. Things like that. So I wanted to hear your thoughts, man. What do you think about the delay? Any issues with it?
No, none at all. None at all. I can understand if it was just a random AAA game studio that's working in the middle of America and they've got absolutely no problems, and they just keep delaying it. There's an issue there. Then it's a development problem. But when you're talking about a developer that's literally been in a war zone for the vast majority of their development cycle, had to completely wrap up shop and move else to an entirely new country in order to maintain development. They've lost people in the war themselves that were developing the game, so they've lost studio members in a war.
Yeah.
There is no other circumstance where I would be absolutely fine with a delay other than JC Game World, especially the amount of delays they've had to do. And they ultimately want it to be the best game it can be. They do, after all of the trouble that they've went through and losing staff and friends and family through the war. The last thing they want to do is put out a game that's going to have problems or going to be buggy or going to be not graphically up to the standards they want it to be, because they want to do the justice to the people that they've lost. So under their circumstances, we've got absolutely zero right to complain that it's been delayed again. I think it's all justifiable on their front. I could absolutely understand if it was just like I say, just a random game studio in the middle of America that has nothing other than financial pressures from the heads above or timescale pressures from the heads above. They don't have any problems. Like, they have no problems. But yeah, it's this. I've got absolutely no issue with GSC Game World delaying their game in order to make it the best it can be for its release. None whatsoever.
Couldn't agree more. Let me briefly shout out a couple of supers that came in. Dave Ramos sends in a channel member chat for being a channel member for 37 months, which is absolutely insane. He says, Dutch, everything in Game Pass is free to play if you think about it.
Everything Game Pass is what, sorry?
Everything in Game Pass is free to play if you think about it.
Yeah. Kind of.
It feels like it's
yeah, feels like it's free to play.
Right?
Yeah, but forget we've spent $12.99.
Indeed. So if you think about it, the sheer value you get out of Game Pass. I play easily 25 to 30 games a year off of Game Pass.
Oh, easy. Because again, it helps that we are big indie fans as well, and we play a lot of indie games.
Yeah.
I can understand maybe people being a little bit like iffy on the surface if they don't play indie games, but I don't see why you wouldn't. It still baffles me to this day why people wouldn't give an indie game a chance.
I agree. That's a whole nother conversation to be had.
Yeah, but it's the Game Pass conversation, because they go, okay, here's a AAA and here's 5 indies. Here's 2 AAAs and here's 6 indies. And all people look at is, where's the big game? They don't look at, oh, this looks cool. But that indie game's an indie game I've been looking forward to.
Bro, you're botting hard.
They just go, oh, it's not giving me lots of big AAAs. That's weird. My camera's just zoned out for a second there.
Huh. All right. I think you'll be back in a second. Let me shout out.
Back once again.
So, yeah, man, I agree with the indie stuff. It's there are so many good and unique experiences in the indie space, but even if you take out the indies you could play through Game Pass, I still feel like I just finished Octopath Traveler 2, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure why I never bought it at full price. But I wouldn't say that's an indie game, right? Might look like one, but definitely not. And gave me an exceptional experience. Then you have tons of AA games in there that are fantastic. And even if you look at the bigger stuff, I mean, Call of Duty just dropped. You have Diablo in there that released this year in Game Pass.
And you get all these games as well that maybe it's all AAA, but they've been out a year, or AA and they've been out a year, and you just haven't had a
EA
chance
stuff,
to get.
for instance, Jedi.
Yeah, you haven't had a chance to get to them because you've been playing other things, or you've just been busy and things like that. And eventually, it comes to Game Pass, and you remember it, and you're like, oh, okay, now I'll give it a chance because you've got time.
True,
and it happens. Again, the conversation, people complain, oh, this game's been out a while. Have you played it yet? No. So it's not to you, it's been out today because you haven't played it. It's new to you.
That's true. Ron TJ sends in another super chat. Thank you so much. And he says, don't forget Dead Rising remake in September. Yeah, bringing it back to the original discussion. There's plenty to play in September. And you're right, I totally forgot about Dead Rising. It's also like mid of September or something.
I'm waiting for The Thing. I'm going to pass on Dead Rising remake. I'm going to wait for The Thing remake. When that comes out, that's more my bag. The Thing's one of my favorite horror films of all time.
Does it have already a release date?
I think it might. I'll have a quick check on the phone.
You do whilst you do that. Yeah, that Rising remake is
20th. No, wait a second. I was going to go on its original release date there.
That Rising remake won't be out in Germany though, but censored.
So yeah, 2 seconds. Set to be released. It's all it says. Just says later this year. So it's coming out this year.
All right. Okay, so we shall see. Dutch, let us move on. And I read something interesting this week about Capcom. They talked about physical digital sales and thought it might be an interesting conversation to be had. They said this year, their last fiscal year, they had over 90% of their sales in digital. Less than 10% was in physical. They reconfirmed again, they still want to produce physical games, at least for the bigger releases. Monster Hunter is going to get a physical release, even though they predict at least 93% of digital sales. And I knew that the vast majority is now digital, but being above 90%, and we had this.
We're living in the digital age.
We're living in the digital age. I mean, it's no secret. I've been all digital since the 360 days, man.
You know what? I've got a kind of multiple reasons for it myself as to why I am almost exclusively all digital. My buying habits is one of them as well. And there's a reason for that. So we can see the trend is going fully all digital at some point. The market is going that way because that's what the buying patterns are. It was 70% only a couple of years back. Now, like you mentioned, Konami's 90% and only 10% physical. They expect it to go up to 93%. But for me, when I was growing up, when I was buying my games for the first time and I didn't have much money, I would have to sell games in order to buy new games. And I absolutely hated that. All of my collection, I used to have to sell my consoles in order to get the next console. And I used to hate that as well. Like, I look back thinking, I wish I still had the GameCube and I wish I still had like all of these older consoles, but I no longer have them because when I was younger and I didn't have money, I had to sell them in order to get the new thing. And the same for the games. I had to get rid of all the games in order to get this new game. And so on and so forth. And it was just a spiral. So I kind of pledged to myself when I started to be good with money and okay with money that I would never get rid of the games again. And I would build up my own collection and own my own things. And digital to me, obviously, despite the fact that at any point, if they really, really wanted to, can completely get rid of the games. Right? It's one of the things of being all digital. But that's a very slim, realistic possibility. Despite that, what it allows me to do is it stops me from selling games. If like I will always have my game collection now, no matter what happens, all the games that I have bought will always be there.
Yeah.
I will never sell them. I have to sell them. I won't be forced into selling them. Whatever is there, and I can go back to them and play them whenever I like, as opposed to what I had previously. So I've got kind of a double whammy reason for it, outside of the fact that it's just far easier for me. Instead of getting up every 2 seconds and putting in a new disc and taking a disc out and putting this disc in this one and put that down and put that in there, I can just click open. I can have 3 games running at the same time, and I can just quick resume between the 3 of them. And I don't even have to close them. I can just pause one, open up a new game, play the next game,
Absolutely.
pause that, open up the next game.
The sheer convenience. I mean, I was
convenience factor.
My first digital game, well, like AAA digital game, was on 360, Far Cry 3, and ever since I have not bought a disc. Through the entire Xbox One generation or PS4 generation, I didn't buy a physical disc. I actually don't even know if my disc drive on my PS5 or Xbox Series X work. I have no idea. So yeah, the convenience is absolutely there. And
I only know mine works because I got Crisis Core for
I remember you
for like
£8.
Me that, because I refused to buy it. I was thinking this is a remaster. I hate buying remasters at like 50 or 60. Especially games that were PSP games. I was like, absolutely not. It's not a $60 game.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to wait for it to come on sale, and it just never reduced.
Yeah.
So I went, fuck it. I'm going to buy it on digital, and it was 8. Sorry, buy it physical, and it was 8. So I was like, yep, I'll have it for £8. That's fine. I can deal with £8. So it's the only physical game I've got on the Series X. The only physical game.
I think I own something around 100 games in my digital library on PlayStation and a little above 700 games on Xbox. And honestly, I wouldn't have the space to put all the boxes.
Yeah,
somewhere.
I don't have the space for
that. I do appreciate the people that try to collect them. Listen, a super generous super chat from Takesu Shinobi came in. £20 super chat. Super appreciate that. He says, not bias here. I play games on PlayStation 5, PC, and Xbox Series X, but Game Pass truly saved me a lot of money when it comes to several games yearly. And I still buy those games from Game Pass eventually, as I prefer physical copy. There you go. A collector. I love it. But that's also an option. I also tend to buy some games that I truly do love that I play through Game Pass, but then I buy them a little later on sale, save me some money. And still get to play the games day one. It's like,
And much like you, I've got 760 games on Xbox, and I've got about 150 on PlayStation. Don't have anywhere near as many, but I also didn't. I was a PlayStation 1 player, PlayStation 2, didn't get a PlayStation 3 at all, didn't play PlayStation 3, and only went back into PlayStation on PS4 Pro. So my collection really restarted on PS4 Pro. So not bad for like 7 years. 130 games.
We need to look up how many games I do own on Steam. No idea.
And the good thing about PlayStation as well is they do a lot of first-party sales all the time. And that's the one thing about PlayStation is I pretty much bought every first-party game that I can find from PS4 onto PS5 generation so far that I want to own. There's a couple that I don't want to own. So I own Spider-Man, I own Miles Morales. I don't own Spidey 2 yet. I might pick it up in sale in the future when it's down a bit, but it's not one of them games that I'm dying to play. So I'll just wait, and I'll get it for the collection at some point and play it at some point. But I own the Demon Souls and I own all of them things. I own pretty much everything they've got there. I don't have Helldivers. That's a like multiplayer games and things
Yeah,
like that. I just don't.
buy that either.
Yeah,
But yeah. Of course, I own basically almost every like PlayStation exclusive game and the occasional third party game. I usually buy my third parties on Xbox though. That's not a secret. Um, yeah, but to Takeso's point, he prefers physical copies, and I feel like with sales being above 90% now on digital,
you're gonna just get digital codes in a box
yeah, I mean that's what you literally get these days
with the
because
deluxe
which
editions these
game,
days and the special
which
editions. You get codes. Yeah,
yeah, and I don't mean that, but I think like that what is the disc these days? Every game of those releases still needs like the day one update and check in
yeah,
online, and like it's literally the license on a disc. But I do get the beauty of having like you know a closet full of the games you can browse through. There there is something to this. I just don't have the space, and I just personally prefer the convenience. Yeah, it we are going definitely way more into the all digital area, and
yeah, absolutely.
I've said it before, the next Xbox and PlayStation, it will still support discs to some degree, but I thoroughly believe they won't come with a disk drive. It will be like an optional external solution that you can plug in through USB, and maybe even outsource to third-party manufacturers like you know um the era of the disc is just coming to an end. I mean, recently Sony closed their Blu-ray, department down and everything. It's like, yeah, unfortunate for the collectors, but this is it's not gonna last forever. The age of the disc, you know. Even Nintendo is going more into the digital direction, so they will support physical still. All right,
Yeah,
Dutch.
they'll support physical in a different way. I think we've mentioned this before. They'll do what PlayStation have done with the new
Yeah,
Slim model, and they'll introduce a model that
some
has Slim
external.
and a detachable drive.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think they'll
exactly.
not even sell the drive. Well, unlike PlayStation did with the Slim this time round, where they sold one with the drive and one
Yeah,
without. I think going forward, they'll probably just release the regular model. And if you want the one with a drive, it'll come with a separate box with the drive in, as opposed to bundled in the same box. Um, and that'll be like a bundle deal. Do you want the drive with it? Okay, that's a bundle deal. Whereas I think that's the same for Xbox going forward. I think they'll be all digital and sell a drive separately.
agree, agree. Mount Squisitor FD in the chat says PS6 will definitely have a disk drive. The next Xbox, not so much. I don't think so. Like again, I like you said, Dutch. I think both of them will have a digital only console and will have an external uh, drive that will be purchasable. But I don't think that either of them are going to come um, with an internal disk drive. I just don't think so. So Dave Ramos sends in a super chat of $2 and says, "Frame a code for the win." Thank you so much, brother. I know you're driving. I hope you're driving safe, man. Yeah, focus on the road. We need our Dave here in the community. Yeah. So stay safe, brother. Dutch, let us move on to the next topic. Before we get into one of our main topics, I briefly wanted to tackle or touch upon your thoughts on the whole Assassin's Creed Shadows drama that went on. For those who didn't follow
Oh,
on those news, I actually don't know who started the complaining. There's always somebody
Grums.
who
It's always
complains.
likely Grums. Grums always
I don't know.
complains.
However, let's just say some people have been complaining about the historical accuracy of
I hate
Assassin's
that guy
Creed
so much. Yes. Now I can
Shadows.
see you.
Um, and about, you know, um, the main character being a black guy as a samurai, and I don't know, there was just a lot of drama, and then Ubisoft actually published a official letter to the Japanese community, where they said we acknowledge that some elements in our promotional materials have caused concern. And now let me read from that statement. Our intention has never been to present any of our Assassin's Creed games, including Assassin's Creed Shadows, as factual representation of history or historical characters. Instead, we aim to spark curiosity and encourage players to explore and learn more about the historical setting we get inspired by. So, I wanted to hear your thoughts and, of course, the community thoughts.
Yeah.
What to
First
think
of all,
about this? Is this an issue? Is it an
no,
unnecessary
no,
drama?
it's these Americans masquerading as Japanese people pretending to be concerned. Like, they've never had an issue with any other Assassin's Creed game not being factually correct when they've released it. Like, Valhalla was nowhere near factually correct. Origins was nowhere near factually correct. Odyssey was nowhere near
In
factually correct. The
Assassin's Creed
original
2, they
Assassin's
had
Creed was no.
yeah,
Yeah,
they had
the
like
original
Leonardo da Vinci,
giving you questions.
being an action hero.
Like, none of them have ever been anywhere close to factually correct. Yes, they're based on historic areas, like in Valhalla, based on historic places in the UK. But none of what they described actually came to pass. They did the Siege of Paris, which wasn't as they showed in the game. They did them going over to the New World, which wasn't as what originally transpired in history. There was so many things that is completely factually wild in Valhalla, but nobody gives a shit because it's Valhalla and it's the Vikings. Same can be said for Odyssey. Like, that was so factually incorrect when it comes to Spartans and the Greeks. That was nowhere near factually or historically accurate. Same was for Origins and ancient Egypts and fighting these giant mythological creatures, some of which weren't even part of Egyptian mythology. And the same applies for this. They've taken slight liberties with Yasuke, saying he was a samurai, but the reason they can do that is because it is a conflicting thing in Japan. There's a lot of Japanese historians that kind of acknowledge that the likelihood of him being a samurai is there. He was given a sword. He was also a sword carrier for his master. And he was kind of acknowledged as almost as such within that area. And then others kind of say, oh, yeah, but there's no definitive confirmation that he was a samurai, which casts doubt over it, which gives them the kind of room to embellish on that particular story and create that narrative that he was this samurai.
Yeah.
And now he isn't the only person in there, because they have another character that is a ninja that you can't play, which is a Japanese lady. You know what I mean? So it's just it only seems to be a problem when it's covering Asian stuff. And the reason I say that is because it's not for the vast majority. If you have a look at the stuff that the Asians are really bothered about, it isn't so much about Yasuke as it is about mixing some Chinese and Japanese stuff into the same in the surroundings. They're like, well, that's not Japanese, that's more Chinese. And that this area that you've created doesn't look Japanese, it looks more Chinese. and so on and so forth. Like they've
Oh,
got
you're botting again.
issues with other parts of the game more than they have Yasuke when it does this. There's only a very small, yeah, back again. I don't know why it keeps doing that. There's only a very small section of the Japanese community that are actually bothered about the whole Yasuke scenario. The vast majority are kind of other things around the game, but it's Assassin's Creed. They've never ever been factually accurate, and they're going to embellish on something. They're going to like completely embellish on things. Like, for instance, if you play Valhalla and you run around the game and you're playing the game, you are Ivor. You play the whole game as Ivor, and all of a sudden, when you go into this other world, you are now Odin. Sorry, what? What? So I'm Ivor and I'm Odin. Okay, that makes complete sense. How can I be Ivor and Odin? Not Loki or anything like this. And now this brother, and like it's the same for the others. No one's ever come up and had an issue with any of the other Assassin's Creeds that have been completely factually incorrect. I mean, just used basis of the history in order to create a narrative. But now it's such a big deal. I think it's a lot of it's just absolute blowing the trumpets. I honestly believe when it comes to the sales aspect, it'll have zero effect. We've seen the same kind of thing with everyone trying to outcry on Hogwarts Legacy. It never pans out the way these people always think it's going to pan out. They always try to create an issue and create a problem and say that they're going to boycott the game and do X, Y, and Z, and have such an issue, and then it ends up being a super high selling game like Hogwarts was, which is
I still think
the highest selling.
Yeah, you're botting again, bro. Maybe you just turn
game
off
of
your camera.
2023. And there was such controversy around that game. What is happening with these cameras? It's just such
Maybe
an
you just
annoyance.
turn
But
it
yeah,
off, man.
ultimately, I think it's. Oh, no, it's not even that. I don't even know what's going on. Ultimately, it's a bit of a mad annoyance that the community is reacting to it is over something so trivial. Like no one in the community is an actual historian, and the historians that are reporting on Yasuke of both conflicting information. Some say there's every chance that he was a samurai, and some say every chance that he wasn't a samurai. None of them can confirm it for definite, and all Assassin's Creed Shadows has done and say we're going to choose Yasuke and we're going to build it around him and this other character, and Yasuke's going to be a samurai in this game. Like, how can you make him a samurai? That's such a dishonorable. Oh, come on.
See, I think a lot of the complaints come from the whole Sweet Baby Inc. thing.
Yeah.
Like, I can see why people think like checking DEI boxes in games is kind of getting out of hands at some points. And I think sometimes these conversations then get a little, mixed up. Is it now what is now the actual problem with Assassin's Creed Shadows? Because it's not historically accurate, because he might be a samurai, might not. What is it? The color of his skin? Well, what is actually the problem? And I think instead of just looking forward to a setting that millions of people have been wanting in an Assassin's Creed games for many years, and now it actually looks really good, that setting, the way how they utilized it with the two different playable characters that play very different. You still have like your action-based combat around your Zuke and what was her name again? I forgot. Blanking.
No idea. This is the whole problem. No one remembers the fact that there's a Japanese ninja right beside him.
Yeah, Japanese ninja.
Because everyone's too bothered complaining about.
But with them, with her character and play style, it's way more like the OG Assassin's Creed game, focused more on stealth and things. Like mixing those things together is what I'm looking forward to. And I just try not to get caught up in all this DEI conversations because, like, honestly, in a year or two, we will not remember the DEI conversation, but a fantastic game that we've played, you know,
Yeah.
and so I'm not really sure what's the complaint actually, you know. Is it a historical accuracy? Is it that? Is it what is it actually? So I'm just looking forward to a good game, and
Yeah.
I not be bothered about the side noise too much. So yeah, but let us get to one of our main topics of the day, and that is Xbox marketing again. And we have talked
Yeah.
about this before. We have talked about this before, but something. And since we are a Europe-based podcast, yeah,
Yes. We have
um,
definitely got the highest way of talking about this because we are European based.
we are definitely. I wanted to bring that topic up because, like, I posted about this also on Twitter, and it kind of went viral, and I got like 200,000 impressions and thousands of comments, and like it was crazy, man. Blew up. Um, the Xbox, but let me start with what happened. The Xbox marketing lead, the EMEA marketing director, Michael Flett, the Xbox marketing director, um, actually spoke openly and publicly about their funding problem and that they are not getting as much funding as Sony's PlayStation division does. In an interview with Market Week, he said the following: "From a funding point of view, we need to work really hard against our competition. Regrettably, they, PlayStation, outspend us. They are blessed with marketing funds that we are just not able to enjoy. But that's totally fine. We adopt what I would call a more fiscally responsible approach to media investment. We are not blessed with a huge media budget, so we have to be quite scrappy, really, and quite tenacious to fight for funds that would probably go somewhere else." So, very, very, let me phrase it, honest statement from a marketing director, the European marketing director. Along with the rumors that Tom Warren put out, oh, not Tom Warren, pardon me, Tom Henderson put out the week before about them maybe closing down marketing in Europe in total, you know, because they don't, for consoles, yeah, for consoles, not entirely, but for the console part of their business, because they are not just not simply not growing here in the market. Um, this is really not that big of a surprise, but it is a surprise that someone openly says that in that position. And I posted something uh, like that on Twitter, that we have been saying this for years, Dutch. They can buy as many ABKs as they want. They can buy as many Bethesda Zenimax as they want, or release as many games as they want. And Game Pass can be the best value in the world. They will never ever grow here in Europe because people don't know that the product exists. You can have the best product in the world. Doesn't matter. If people don't know that it exists, you won't sell it and you won't grow it.
Yep.
They have been lacking, and we've talked about this before on this podcast. Yeah, they have been lacking in marketing so bad. They are nowhere to be found. They have like relatively small social media channels compared to the competitors, but that's about it. There are no internet advertisements, there are no billboards, there are no, TV commercials, there are no sponsoring of sport events, and so on. If you watch the Champions League, for instance, yeah, you would see PlayStation banners all over the place. And that's why it became a synonym to play video games. People don't, here in Germany, most people don't say, "Oh, I'm gonna play a video game tonight." It's like they say, I'm gonna play PlayStation tonight, even if you play on PC or Nintendo. Yeah? And I barely know anyone who actually knows what an Xbox is. There's absolutely zero brand awareness around here. People don't even know that this is an option. Yeah? In the biggest outlets that we have, like I would compare that maybe to Best Buy in the US or something like that. We have the biggest outlets, MediaMarkt and Saturn and so on. If I go to my MediaMarkt here in the city I live in, I can't even buy Xbox stuff. They don't sell the console, they don't sell the games, they don't sell anything anymore. They completely retracted themselves from, you know, outlets. There's no marketing, and you can have as many Gamescom booths as you want, and they can be as big as you want. That is not marketing. If you go to an event like Gamescom, you're already very heavily invested into gaming. And yes, then you know about Xbox and you know about the games coming out and you know what they offer and what they don't offer. Yeah. So things like Gamescom are a fan service. They are not marketing. Marketing is when you enter and advertise your product to an audience that doesn't know what you offer. That is marketing. And they haven't done that since the 360 days. And they stopped midway through the 360 days. When the Xbox One came out, nothing. Nothing at all. In most European markets, the Xbox One didn't even launch the day it launched. Like in the Netherlands, our
Yeah.
friends here from the Netherlands, yeah, they had to wait 2 years into the Xbox
Or
One
drive to
generation.
Germany.
Or drive to Germany. Germany was one of the very few European countries where the console actually launched, you know? And at the same time, Xbox complains about, oh man, the console market isn't growing. It's not growing. We don't stand a chance against our competition. And for the first time in a very long time, they are actually now in a position to compete against PlayStation. If you look at the roadmap of games that come out, you know, they don't have to hide anymore from PlayStation. It's not like Xbox has no games anymore. We have a fantastic roadmap. We had just 2 months ago the fantastic Hellblade 2. Avowed is coming this year. Shattered Space is coming this year. Indiana Jones is coming this year. Stalker 2 is coming this year. Towerborn, Flight Sim, Age of Mythology. There's tons and tons of games coming. And they have the games. And they offer the best value in gaming. We just talked about Game Pass and the insane value that it provides. They have a chance to compete, but they absolutely fail to transfer that into the market because there are absolutely no marketing. There are absolutely no supporting of video game media. I've told you that story before, Dutch. When Halo Infinite came out, the biggest German YouTuber who has over 6 million subs didn't get a review copy. Like, why? Yeah? And then you wonder that the headlines are not pro Xbox. Probably tons of the media people don't even know what Xbox is, what they offer, what they do well, what they don't do well. Yeah? It's just like we are caught in such a market environment, and that's where the brand becomes irrelevant. And it's not because the product isn't good. It is simply because they can't transfer the message of, hey, we are here, we offer fantastic value with Game Pass, we have plenty of games coming with our 30 plus studios, and not even Call of Duty is going to change that because nobody will know it is in Game Pass. Nobody will know what Game Pass is or what Xbox is. And that's just the hard reality that they face here in Europe. And so when they talk about We are not growing, and the console space isn't growing, and all that stuff. There is no reason why Xbox shouldn't be able to sell 100 million plus units in a per generation, like their competitors do. Sony and Nintendo do sell usually above 100 million consoles per generation. And I know it's not about the console sales per se, but the console sales generate you an install base, you know? And now the marketing, bringing it back to my original point, trying to wrap up my rant here,
Before I start mine.
before you start yours. And I want to hear, of course, the thoughts of the community. But now the marketing the market head of marketing here in Europe simply comes out, yeah, we don't have the funding. We don't care. Xbox, Microsoft doesn't care for marketing. And so I'll stand by that statement. It will never ever help them to buy ABK and ABK, Bethesda, and even more studios and acquisitions, or make Game Pass an even better value, or by adding now ABK games, Call of Duty and whatnot to it. Yeah, people don't know it exists. And that's the pure fact why it will not sell. Yeah, and yes, it is about software sales, and you can do that on Steam, and you can do that on PlayStation. But I don't want to sound too doom and gloom. But of course, them exiting, supposedly, rumoredly exiting marketing at all in the console space and only focus on PC marketing across Europe is somewhat concerning to me, because it brings up the question: are we going back to what they did during the Xbox One generation and really not support the European market? Are my friends from the Netherlands, France, and Spain gonna get the next Xbox console day one, or will they have to wait another 2 years? Yeah, will they ever try to fix all their localization problems that they have, that Sony and Nintendo simply do better, way better? Will they ever try to improve the console experience for us Europeans? It doesn't look the way like they do. It just doesn't. And of course, being a console fan, an Xbox fan as well, but I love consoles. I love my Nintendo. I love my PlayStation. I love my Xbox console. Yeah? I do play occasionally on PC, but I just prefer the console space. And as a console fan, of course I'm worried. I want Xbox to be strong here in Europe. But they are doing all they can to shoot themselves in the foot and stop growing and become relevant here in Europe. So I don't know about you, Dutch. I've been rambling on for way too long. Let me hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so I mean, we laughed when we saw the article. One of the first things we said specifically was, "What marketing? How can they exit the marketing space when they haven't entered the marketing space?"
Yeah, true. Hang on, before you start, one more thing. I need to.
Yeah,
You know how the slogan of Xbox is, "When we all play, we all win."
yeah,
Come on.
yeah.
Come on. Can you take that serious by neglecting the second largest market in the world? And I'm not even saying that they don't do the same shit in the Asian region, or I know South America. I know they are kind of big in Mexico, and they do a lot of marketing there. But other markets, Brazil, Argentina, and so on,
Yeah.
basically the same. Basically the same like here. Yeah. So when we all play, we all win. Is that really what they want to do? I don't know. Now I stop talking, man, and let and listen to your thoughts.
Yeah, it's mad, and it's things that they just keep doing that don't make any sense. Like I have a laugh at the Hellblade 2 promotional thing they did in the UK, where they put a Hellblade 2 advertisements on the cliffs of Dover. Now, I don't know if anybody in the world knows where the cliffs of Dover actually are, but they are outward facing into the sea. So the only way you're going to see an advertisement for a video game on the White Cliffs of Dover, or if you happen to be on a boat in the middle of the North Sea.
Yep.
So you're not really advertising to
Yep.
a very small section of the entire population of Europe traveling between France and Dover.
Hey, maybe some of our French friends are trying to swim over there. They might see it then.
Yeah. If they've got binoculars.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Hellblade. It's such a strange place to do advertisements. Whereas, counter that, in the middle of London or in the middle of random cities around the world for launches of PlayStation games, you've got a giant axe for Kratos just lodged in the ground in a random city and makes people think, what is that? I want to know more about why this giant axe is standing in the floor. Or there's a giant lorry that's held up by spider webs for the launch of Spider-Man in the middle of New York. Or, there's random things like that. Just every time they do a major launch, PlayStation do something that is viral, that gets the attention of the crowd and advertises. That's on top of TV spots. That's on top of billboard advertisements. That's on top of full tube trains advertised. Like, they go full belt. They actually market their things. And the problem here for me isn't specifically an Xbox problem, because, and I've said this in our chats, the problem Xbox have is that they're owned by Microsoft. On a marketing front, Microsoft absolutely and never have known how to market outside of the shareholder. Microsoft have only ever had to market to the shareholder or to the
all their
investor.
consumer products. Like,
Yeah.
they do quite a good. They have quite a good sales department, for business partners and so on.
Yeah, really
But
good business or
but
trade.
consumer
Consumer's
products.
terrible.
I
Yeah,
mean, look at the
consumer.
Windows Phone and
Yeah.
even now the
That's I
Surface.
say, what it is. I also say that's exactly the reason why the Windows Phone failed. It
Yeah.
wasn't because it wasn't a good phone. It was because they just didn't fucking advertise it. Nobody knew it existed or what it was capable of. They didn't push it out and do like if you see every major phone manufacturer, they do these massive unveilings and then they're all over the TV. Like, it's notorious now that Apple and Samsung are always taking the mick out of each other on their adverts. They're always like subtle digs at each other. And Samsung and Apple have done that for years. They've just had subtle digs at each other, like our phone's better than your phone, or my camera's better than your camera. Like, that's the kind of advertisement they do, and it's big. The reason the marketing didn't work for the Windows Phone is because they just didn't advertise it. And it's exactly the same for Xbox. Because they're owned by Microsoft, Microsoft simply do not understand the importance of consumer marketing. And they don't understand the value of what that's worth in order to drive more sales through effective consumer marketing techniques. And it's baffling. It's the one of the biggest companies in the world. Now, it obviously used to be Apple and Microsoft, and now Nvidia's just skyrocketed to the top. But like, top 3 company in the world, and they simply refuse to spend the money to advertise effectively, which is baffling. It makes no sense. You want something to be successful, you have to tell everybody about it. How are you going to tell everybody about it? You advertise. How do you advertise? When it comes to things like video games, etc., you can't just do your standard advertisements. You've got to be a little bit more viral about it. You've got to do things cunningly, like PlayStation do, giant hammers in random places, or axes, or giant like trains covered in things, or giant Spider-Man somewhere. You've got to do things that catch the eye. And Microsoft don't. You'd be lucky if you see, like, they sponsor a random MLS football team. They got one random thing like on the Sphere in Las Vegas. Like, who in Europe's going to see something in the Sphere in Las Vegas unless they see it online, which is next to nobody.
Yeah.
Like, That's not effective marketing. Paying hundreds of thousands, if not millions, to get a 30-second ad on a sphere in Vegas is not effective marketing. It was great for a one-off, but it didn't do anything. That's not driving any consumer sales. I guarantee there was no cross-selling from that. It doesn't make any sense. Like me and you work in two different businesses that are very much require you to advertise to the consumer.
Yep.
Very much so. And if you didn't advertise what you did to your consumer, you just wouldn't. Nothing would happen. You wouldn't ship as what you needed to ship. And if we didn't advertise what we could do as a service and how we stand out from the opposite, we wouldn't get anywhere. Like nothing would happen. We have to be really down people's throats with advertisement in order to sell products. And I just don't understand why Microsoft are so reluctant to give Xbox enough cash to go out and have effective marketing. Yeah. It makes no sense. And that's what I boil it down to. I don't boil it down to Xbox because it's not their purse strings. Ultimately, it's the top brass that just don't. They still haven't, from the early days of Microsoft, still haven't got in their heads what marketing means to the consumer and why it's important.
Whilst I do agree that there is an overarching theme to the Microsoft mother company and them not being able to market consumer products properly, I also believe that Xbox is easily big enough to make those decisions on how they're.
You would think so, but they also have to still ask for the budget.
They kind of do.
Yeah.
But if the top managers at Xbox would stand up for it, they would be able to.
I don't think any of them will, though. That's the problem. I don't think any of them would really.
They
I
don't
think they'd stand up and say why.
That's
why it's necessary.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's not just Microsoft. The Xbox division is big enough to make those decisions easily. If Phil and his leadership team would stand up and say, "Hey, we need to free up some money in our division to market our product properly," they would be able to.
Oh, absolutely.
And so,
okay, literally, if you, it's like you could, for the cost of a game, you could have an effective marketing strategy
easily.
But this is also again the difference between the three companies. If you ever think about where Nintendo come from, Nintendo needed to have an effective marketing strategy because they are literally just a video game company. They're a video game platform, always have been, always will be. They are just a video game platform.
Yeah. No, they haven't always been.
Sony,
they
on the other
haven't
hand,
always
are
been. They did.
It's really
game
weird.
Cards, like trading cards and stuff like that.
Sony are a massive. Sony are a massive.
Bro, you're botting again.
Sorry, Sony are a very consumer-facing company. I know it's really weird. On my side, it's fine. By the way, it's just the camera cuts out, but the sounds, everything else is fine.
Sound is
but yeah, Sony are consumer-facing. Very odd. A consumer-facing company that has been advertising Walkmans and the Sony Ericsson and TVs and hi-fi systems and sound bars and now the PlayStation. So they've always been. We know how to advertise to consumers because we know how to sell products to the consumer.
Yeah.
We know how to have an effective marketing strategy to sell. The Sony Ericsson was one of the biggest things. I don't remember anybody that didn't have a Sony Ericsson. Either would have been an MP3 player or a Sony Ericsson phone or a Sony Ericsson, some form of Sony Ericsson device when they came out for media playback. I don't know anybody that didn't own one at some point because it was a very effective thing. Everybody thought it was the next best thing in like audio playback at that time, because Sony knew how to advertise. And that's exactly the way it has been for them always. They know how to do that. Xbox they started off well because Microsoft had a really big push on trying to get the original Xbox into the home, and they wanted to be the next big thing in the home. So they started out with really effective Xbox strategies. We always remember those old Xbox viral things
Yeah.
Like you only live, like life is too short, and then it shows you like this baby like growing older and going into old man, and then going straight into the grave. And that was an Xbox advertisement,
Yeah. Yeah.
firing from one end to the other. And that is a viral marketing strategy. You go, fucking hell, what's this mad like advert? And that was for Xbox, and they just don't do things like that anymore. They've lost the focus of where they're like, oh, Xbox is a big thing in our company and it makes us X amount of billions of pounds. But then they don't have the same need that they did when they first launched the Xbox as a product all those years back to advertise as effectively as they did then.
Yeah.
And it again in the 360 era with the Halo and everything like that. For the second time round, they did, and Gears of War, again, very effective marketing. And as you said, when Xbox One came around, it's as if they just went, oh, fuck this. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's already gone before we've started. So let's just get through this generation as best we can and get on with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. So yeah, since this isn't an issue that a lot of people I've seen online phrase it like, yeah, they have that issue right now. You know,
No, it's been
it's
years.
not right now. Not right now. It has been for 15 a problem for 15 years now. They stopped marketing whatsoever and trying to generate brand awareness halfway through the 360 generation. And it's easily like 15 years now. And so it's not an issue right now, and I don't think they will ever improve upon it. It is just something that will lead to the fact that the console, the Xbox console, the brand will be fine. Don't get me wrong. The brand itself will be fine with all those studios. They are now basically too big to fail, you know? But the console in Europe, not so much. And I just hope that it stays big enough for them to actually do a console in Europe, yeah, and support it here. So yeah, we shall see, man. Let us move over to Sony.
Yes.
And the PS5 Pro. Rumors heavily suggest it's gonna come out this year. We haven't heard anything official so far. We've seen lots of insiders leaking specs, talking about things they heard, and so on. This week, two things actually happened. Another insiders came out, of course, and talked about, yeah, it's still on track for 2024. Even don't have a release date or an announcement or anything, any official information. But then some data miners also found in No Man's Sky's latest update some PlayStation 5 Pro specifications for PS5 Pro mode. Suggesting, okay, that thing actually really is real. Yeah. And so I wanted to talk to you about that. Is the PS5 Pro still coming out this year? And when will we hear about it?
Probably last minute, and then they'll have a release date within 2 weeks after it.
You think so?
Yeah, it'll be like a really last minute rush thing.
Interesting. What makes you think
that? The way PlayStation's been doing things, especially the way that we've been doing in certain circumstances, PlayStation's usually really good, I believe it or not. But if you have a think up to the launch, we mentioned the marketing strategy, and they had some great viral marketing for God of War Ragnarok. But when you were just before release, for instance, they didn't even celebrate the release. They just put out a little article saying like God of War's released. They didn't. I was like, All right, okay. Like, oh, because that's the release date. I thought you would do like some big fancy kind of developer direct thing for, and they're like, nope, no, this is the release date for God of War Ragnarok. Like a little article. I was like, well, that's underwhelming. I thought you'd really go for it. And even ever since then, they haven't really. It's been a very strange one from Sony. I think they know how to do viral marketing, but they've completely forgot how to talk to the community. It's a really backward situation. Microsoft's the opposite. Microsoft know how to talk to the community, but can't viral market. Sony can viral market, but have absolutely zero idea on how to talk to the community or unveil things now.
Yeah.
Like, even if you have a look at like the peripherals when they're advertising some of the peripherals, like the PSVR 2, which is now ultimately dead. It is now completely dead. And then you have a look at Bloods, which are ultimately dead. It's just Sony. I think are just really weird right now. I just don't. I don't trust them to like have an actual. They'll do some weird show. They'll talk about a few games. I think they'll talk about a few games that are getting PS5 Pro enhancements. And then you'll get a release date that's like within a few weeks of when they announced it, with a price. The pre-orders will go up almost immediately. And yeah, that'll be it. I don't think. I really don't think they'll make a big deal about it. I think they'll just do it.
But you believe it's still coming out this year?
I don't even know.
See, because I'm
think it's
really
still coming,
torn
but
on
I don't
this.
think it's. I don't think it's. I'm not sure whether or not it actually makes this year. I think it could squeeze into the beginning of next year.
Yeah.
But I think they wanted to make this year to try and make the Christmas period, the holidays.
I mean, it kind of would make sense for them because they know that the Switch 2 is probably going to come out next year, and it's absolutely going to dominate 2025 Christmas sales, right? So, and I know on the console sale side, they don't see Xbox as any competition. They don't really care what they do with their hardware next year. But with Nintendo, that's a different thing. And 25 is the Christmas sales are going to be dominated by the Switch 2. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. But so it would absolutely make sense from that point of view for them to still release it this year and have it ready for the holiday season in 2024. On the other hand, Sony really tried to launch all their consoles along with games. They did it with the PS3, with the PS4, the PS4 Pro, with the PS5. They actually launched their consoles along with games, and they don't have any this year. Yeah, I know they have Concord coming. Yeah, but let's face it, that game is dead on arrival, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know it's there's a certain subsection of people are enjoying it, but the stats from an open beta, by the way, where anybody can play it on both PlayStation and on PC, have been so dire. Like you're talking 3,000 in an open beta is absolutely horrific.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And so Concord isn't like your launch game for a console. So, and they obviously struggle to release or have the games that people actually want. The next Naughty Dog game, the next Bend game, Tsushima 2, whatever. These kind of games, the next Santa Monica game, Cory Barlog's game, right? Who has not been working on God of War 2 because God of War Ragnarok, because he's working on something else. But those games aren't ready for it this year. They simply are not. And so, are they maybe intentionally kind of holding off to have something along one of their bigger first party games and then release it next year along with the game, whatever it
But
might
they've
be.
already said though that they kind of expect to have a pretty dry year next year.
That's the thing. That's the other thing. That's why what I'm saying. I'm torn. I'm not sure when to expect it. There are arguments to
I
be
can
made
imagine
for.
they just bundle. You know what it is? I can imagine they just bundle it with like Astrobot or and Concord or like one of the newer releases, or maybe get some kind of, I don't know, convince Square Enix to do a PS5 Pro enhancement of Rebirth or something along those lines.
That's a
They're going to get,
possibility. Also for, I don't
yeah,
know, some of the Ubisoft games, for instance,
yeah,
or Dragon Age, uh, having like, and I fully expect those bigger publishers to release a dedicated PS5 Pro mode or version or whatever you want to call it. You could try to do that. Xbox would do that. They launched the Series X without any releases. They launched the Xbox One X without any major games along with it. They would be up for that, but PlayStation usually doesn't do that.
yeah,
Then on the other hand, it's July. There's plenty of time to announce it. The times are different in a year 2024. You don't have to announce things months and months ahead. I
yeah,
think the 2 weeks you mentioned are maybe a little bit early. But if you remember the PS4 Pro announced in September, launched the holiday season, then in
yeah.
November, I could see something like that. Summer break in most countries, they keep quiet until September after the Gamescom hype is gone, then just come out in September and announce it. So, but I could also see them move it into next year to have something bigger than an Astrobot ready to launch along with the console. So I could see both sides of things. There's an argument to be made for both possibilities there. So yeah, man.
Yeah,
We shall
absolutely.
see. We shall see. All right, Dutch. And with that,
I've got a couple of super chats here before we
oh
get
yeah,
into the end of the show.
yeah.
Dave Ramos with a $5 super chat. He says COD is the fourth biggest gaming franchise of all time, behind Mario, Tetris, and Pokemon, and Minecraft, and Fortnite, and Roblox.
And
Is coming to Game Pass, and nobody knows. That's unacceptable. I agree. There's been zero advertisements, but I think that might have something to do with the whole FTC European thing where they're not allowed to essentially show it off a bit like it's different here than it is over there. So that it's going on there, but they can't really talk about it like they have. They've mentioned it once, and that was, and believe it or not, this is the funny thing. I went and watched a lot of the reaction streams to the Xbox showcase, and you wouldn't believe how many people that watched that stream and seen that intro at COD, and Phil Spencer mentioned it was on Game Pass day one, that went, whoa, that's huge. Like, they've got it on Game Pass day one. But didn't already know that, even though they'd already announced it.
yeah,
Nobody actually knew about it. Like, this is just insane. Like he says, it is insane that they have one of the biggest franchises currently available and nobody knows it's on Game Pass outside of the hardcore. Nobody. It should be advertised. It is unacceptable. I agree.
yeah. Comes down to marketing again.
Yeah. And then Sour Blow with a $5 super chat. He says, if PS5 Pro and next gen Xbox comes out in 2026, is PlayStation in trouble? Also, a console PC hybrid Xbox. How would PS combat that? I
Again, it is. It really depends on what market you're looking at.
yeah,
If 26 I'm
Yeah.
fully on board with the 26 launch. I think as good as the Series X is, there are two major arguments for me to say 26 is a fantastic date. First, 8-year console cycles are simply too long. They simply are. No other tech product has such such a long life
Yeah.
cycle. Let alone a gaming device that is supposed to run state of the art games. And 6 years even feels too long, to be honest. Yeah. So 26 totally makes sense from that point of view. I also think it is a smart move to start the next gen earlier because the series generation just didn't do what was supposed to do for Microsoft. It was to be it was supposed to be their big generation where they finally have the games and where they finally can leverage the great value that Game Pass is and leverage the unification of the ecosystem, with cloud and PC and console, and it being a seamless transition to go from one device to the next thing. But if you look uh, at the harsh reality, they kind of screwed that up, right? They launched the console without any games. Um, they had two major releases in 21. Then a year after the console came out, they had Forza and Halo. And then they had 18 months of nothing, just to release a Redfall. And then they had like a Starfield. Yes, cool. But that's about it until 3.5 years into the generation. They had a Halo, a Forza, and a Starfield in three and a
Yeah.
half years. And, well, actually, two Forzas, but the games weren't there. The games were not there. So the value of Game Pass didn't stand out. They had problems kicking off this generation with a lot of performance issues, and it it just didn't do it. And now they are at this point where they were supposed to be at the beginning of this gen, with a steady cadence of quality games coming out. But that's too far into the generation. So yeah, why not end this generation earlier than people expected it to be? Yeah, 26 totally makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But does it put them
With
ahead
regard
of
to the things,
PlayStation? That was the
yeah,
actual question, right? Sorry, I rambled on. But
no, it's all right.
it,
It's that
it
was the
really
Xbox. The
depends on the
PS4.
market. And
Yeah,
if
it
they
does.
do a
It does.
hybrid console, I would
You
be
know, it is.
absolute.
Yeah, I also don't think it matters what Xbox release because again, even if Xbox release a next gen console and PS5 Pro comes out, everyone's still going to get the PS5 Pro because nobody
Yeah.
knows the console exists. Especially if they're going to ditch
So
marketing entirely in Europe for Xbox console marketing, then it can be the most powerful thing since sliced bread, like we've mentioned before. It could be the next big
yeah,
thing, but
exactly.
no, if nobody knows it's there, they're going to just buy the PS5 Pro. Um, and I don't think PlayStation would try to combat the console PC hybrid thing for Xbox either. I don't think it would make a difference. Um, and I don't think they need to. I think, but what they are doing is they're both looking into handhelds, and I think that's a race that could be interesting.
Absolutely.
Xbox releasing their handheld, and PlayStation are actually looking at a version of their actual handheld, not this
Yeah.
Q Lite remote play thing.
PS
They're
Portal, yeah.
both looking at actual handhelds again, so that'll be an interesting feature
Mm,
when that launches.
absolutely. But again, if people don't know it exists,
Marketing, yeah,
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 um, eh, it always comes down to the same thing. They have the potential. Everything's there. They've got a great ecosystem. They got great games. They got great value with Game Pass. It's all there, and it won't matter if they release it in 26, 28, or whenever. If they have a handheld, if they have a hybrid console, which all sounds amazing, but people
yeah,
won't know it exists.
yeah,
So looking at certain markets, yeah. If you look at the US market, absolutely. I could easily see them out do PlayStation. Yeah, sure. but everywhere else, not so much. Not with this
Yeah.
strategy. Not with the strategy they had for the last 15 years. So, yeah. All right, Dutch. Let us get to the final segment of our show, the community questions.
Ooh, you're so good. Every day I hear the words all from you.
Alrighty. All right. So, the first community question of the day comes in from the Big Bridge. He says, a birthday video game question. As you puff your cheeks to blow out the birthday cake candles, a giant blurry fairy godmother appears and allows you to make one video game related wish, which would be a miraculous become 100% true. What wish would that be?
A full-fledged Final Fantasy IX remake that is modern-day graphics but old-school gameplay. We've seen it is now possible from that lovely game that we saw at the Xbox Showcase. That is turn-based strategy with AAA graphics. Yes, please. I'm all over that, and I want Final Fantasy to be that going forwards. So that is always my dream, and until that happens, that will remain that way.
That does sound fantastic.
Yes.
That does sound fantastic. Since I'm a huge Witcher 4 fan, or Witcher
4
fan, pardon me, a Witcher fan.
Living in the future here.
And probably my most anticipated game ever is The Witcher 4. My video game related birthday wish is that they hire me, pay me double the salary that I make now, and let me work on the next Witcher. There you go.
Yes.
Simple and
you can be the
easy
project
wish.
manager.
I'll be the project bro. If I would be the project manager, the game would come out on day one, on its supposed release date. It wouldn't be delays.
Yeah.
I'm an engineer in an industry that doesn't allow for delays.
Yeah.
You know?
We will not tolerate this. Schnell.
Right. Sith Lord writes in. I hope you have a happy birthday. Thank you, man. Thank you. I had. Now that Call of Duty is in Game Pass and Crash is coming next month, what is the next franchise coming to the service? So first of all, Crash isn't officially announced. So we're still in the rumor phase, but since the last rumor turned out to be true, highly likely.
Yeah, I mean, we said it was likely to be a Crash and a Spyro and Crash Team Race, and well, all of them first before we start to see anything else. Yeah. Surprisingly, we got Modern Warfare 3 first.
I was also surprised by that. I thought that they would choose an older Call of Duty, you know?
Yeah.
First.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to just milk Modern Warfare 3 as much as they can before Black Ops 6 comes out. Because they know everyone's just going to drop that straight onto Black Ops, and that's all they're going to be playing. So I think they're just trying to, especially with the last couple of seasons and things out of Modern Warfare before that starts to get a little bit slower and Black Ops comes out. I think they're just trying to milk that a little bit, which is understandable from that perspective. But
yeah.
I think
Tony Hawk
Spyro,
is still
Tony Hawk and Spyro, I think, have got a very good chance of being the next ones after. I think Crash Bandicoot 4 Trilogy, and maybe Team Racing. Maybe you should be. To be fair, you should just release all three of those in Game Pass at the same time. Just do the Crash. Like the Crash Collection is now on Game Pass. You've got the original trilogy remake, and then you've got Crash 4 and Crash Team Racing. There you go. Crash month.
Crash.
Next month you do Spyro remake. Next month you do Tony Hawk remake.
Like that.
Yeah.
Maybe squeeze in one of the Call of Duties again.
Yeah, one of the older ones. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Vanguard.
It's also a campaign I haven't played yet. So
I haven't played Vanguard either. No. Same. I got the other World War II one not too long ago for like £4 on sale.
Yeah.
I was like, woohoo!
Yay. All right. Dave Ramos writes in, happy birthday, Boxy. A lot of birthday wishes. Appreciate it. Thank you. In a future where half of gamers are using cloud and half are using dedicated local hardware, PC, console, handhelds, whatever. What cloud gaming feature would you want to see that would allow you to consider making cloud streaming part of your gaming hobby?
I honestly would never want an all cloud gaming future. I just wouldn't. It would have to be like beyond Nvidia's highest bracket and significantly cheaper. But even then, I wouldn't want it because I like physical hardware.
I do too, and I can't see. I mean, what is the problem with cloud streaming? Yeah, it is the lag and it is the bandwidth problem. So in the future, what do I want for
And
cloud gaming?
also another thing with cloud streaming, specifically cloud streaming, if your network goes down, you cannot play anything. Anything.
Well, you basically can't do that right now either.
Well,
When
no,
Xbox
but
Live is down, you can't play
no, but
anything.
there is a lot of games you can still put a disc in and play. There's a lot of games you can do that. But with cloud specifically, you can't even get to that point. You can't even get to the home screen, like nothing.
Well, how often is your internet really down? Like it's
Yeah, but you have to think about it though. In a cloud only scenario,
yeah.
like it's not just about how often. But in a cloud only scenario, if your internet goes down, at least you've got
But
ways
if your
or
power
means.
grid goes down, you can't play either. So I don't consider actually that to be the issue. For me, it's really about input lag, and there are simply limitations. That's physics won't be able to overcome that, and the other thing is general bandwidth issues. My
Yeah.
internet really barely is down ever. Like once a year, I lose internet for an hour or so, and that's about it. So I would be able to handle the internet is down. What I do have an issue with is bandwidth, varying bandwidth problems. And that is particularly nasty when you play through cloud. Yeah. And so my problem with cloud streaming really isn't a cloud streaming thing per se, it is the infrastructure surrounding it. And
Yeah.
especially Germany has been struggling a lot with fiber connections. Only 10% of our households have
But you're
fiber
not just
connection.
us either though. Like Boxy, like we're in. Even our bandwidths aren't. Well, mine's great, but even still, I still have kind of bandwidth issues time again. But ours, for the most part, is significantly better than a lot of people that own consoles. There's still a significant amount of people that own consoles that have really low bandwidth and speeds. And some areas are still like super low down the pecking order with really bad internet providers, but they don't have a choice and can't move anywhere and can't do anything about it. Like the only thing they can ultimately do if they wanted a better service is move to a place that has better internet.
Very similar here.
Yeah.
So let's assume that is fixed. That our governments
And the
finally
whole
get their
world
shit
is on like
together
2
and
gig fiber.
we have good internet connections and so on. What would I want cloud gaming to do? I mean, see, the one thing that cloud gaming could do that local hardware cannot is scale the computational power. So
Yep.
Nvidia is doing the best job at this right now, right? If you have the funding for it, it is super expensive, but you can stream a 4090, like top-notch graphics, you know, without investing into a 4,000 euro gaming PC. And of course, that is something intriguing, something that local hardware cannot do. So if xCloud isn't doing that, it is still at 1080p, but if you do 4K 60 FPS, again, considering the government's put up the infrastructure for it, and then have like really high-powered rigs in the server centers, I think that is something where I would say, okay, then I would consider cloud streaming a valid option. Until then, local hardware all the way, man. All the way. All right. Final question of the day comes in from Becca, aka RSJ fan. She writes in and says, "Happy birthday. Thank you. The topics I'm interested in are Game Pass price increases in Modern Warfare 3 being added to Game Pass." So I think we talked about Modern Warfare 3 earlier. Surprised that it was Modern Warfare 3. We didn't really cover the Game Pass price increases last time properly.
I think we kind of did, but we kind of just we did cover it last time we did a podcast.
Did we know?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. Because it wasn't really that much of a big fuss to us. Remember us talking about that?
Right. Now I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's still the same. I'm still in the same position. Like, I'm not going to miss £2 a month, and my position was, unfortunately, if you're going to miss £2 a month, you've got bigger worries than than Game Pass. If £2 a month is really going to put you in a financial stress, there's other things you've got bigger worries for. It's my ultimate thing on that. It sounds harsh, but it's true. If you're going to miss £2 or €3 or $4, whatever it is in your currency, if you're going to miss that on a month, an entire month, you've got more serious issues to worry about.
I mean, again, I don't want to defend price increases. They are never good.
Yeah.
But like everything has gone up in prices significantly.
Yeah,
Like,
everything has gone up.
Energy prices, I pay 3 times what I used to pay 4 years ago.
I'm going to try and sell that shit.
Shopping, like my weekly grocery shopping bill doubled over the last 2 years, right? So, yeah. I agree with what you said. It is still, a price increase.
We don't like seeing it.
I don't want to defend price increases.
Yeah.
But given the value that I get out of Game Pass, it is still a fantastic value. And honestly, the €2 price increase, they are not affecting me at the end of the month.
Yeah. I've got one question here from Sin. Sin asks if Microsoft should do a street level survey asking the general public about Game Pass just to see how few folks even know it exists, let alone how it works. Yeah. I mean, I think they could do one, but that would require a marketing team.
Aware. Bro, they are not that stupid, you know? Sometimes we think they are stupid, but they're really not. They know about their market penetration. They know about their brand awareness. They know about that stuff. They are fully aware about them not doing marketing properly here. Their marketing director said, hey, we just don't have the funding for it. Our competition, PlayStation, is doing it significantly better. That's known to Microsoft. It is known to them. They just don't care.
Yep.
So, Dutch. But with that, let's wrap this show up. It has been a blast, as always. Even with lighter news, we still I still, at least, always have a great time, actually, with you and, of course, with our awesome community. So let me thank you, the community, first. It's been a blast, as always. I want to say a big thank you, of course, for the birthday wishes, and I want to say a big thank you for all the super chats that came in. We truly do appreciate them. Um, Also, a big thank you, of course, to our listeners on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and those who listen after the fact on YouTube. If you made it this far, we super appreciate it. Dutch, let everyone know what you are working on and what you've coming up.
Yes, yeah. So I'm still working on the website slowly but surely in the background. I hope to have it launched by late August, September. I'm just slowly doing it in the background. Just so much going on with work and things at the moment that every opportunity that I'm getting to relax and or potentially game, I'm taking that opportunity with two hands because I need to switch off and not just come home and work more. So yeah, it is getting worked on slowly but surely in the background. I have to obviously have content ready for it when it launches. I can't just launch an empty website. So naturally, I'll have to have articles and reviews and things ready to rock and roll. It'll be games that have already been out, and maybe some games that will have only just released when it comes out. So that's getting worked on. Other than that, I was going to get back to streaming last week, but we ended up having several days of really warm weather, so it was just unbearable being in this room to try and stream. So that got knocked on the head. I was like, nope, I can't even sit there and game
I feel you,
offline, let alone game online and stream at the same time. So I thought, nope, that's getting. I sat in the living room and tried cool. So yeah, other than that, I'm going to try and stream. If I'm not streaming, then it'll just be back on this podcast next week as always. Regular day next week, I think.
Regular day next week. Absolutely. All right. So again, a big thank you to this awesome community. A big thank you to all the channel members that do support us, and of course, a big thank you again for all the birthday wishes. We will be back next week. Enjoy your weekend, play some games, and don't forget to game on.